Hey guys, I hope you're well. Hey, I wanted to make a real quick video just to let you know what the government here in Spain said yesterday with their plan for the reopening of Spain. So yesterday the Prime Minister went on TV and announced how the country is going to stage by stage reopen businesses, tapas bars, everything. I don't know why I spoke about tapas bars. Obviously that's the one I'm thinking about. But what these phases are going to look like. So a lot of people have been asking me. I know there's probably obviously not as much in English as there is in Spanish, so I'm going to just read out to you some information. I'm not going to give you all the information because the actual government information is really long, all the different, can fishing vehicles go out, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to keep it to things that people of this channel are most interested in, and we're going to go through it. All right, so I will refer to this sometimes. I should probably move this around. That'd probably be better. It's called, this plan to reopen Spain is called La Transición a la Nueva Normalidad. So that means the transition to the new normal. So very literary. So here's the thing, there's 4 phases in this reopening, and I want to kind of run through each of them, what each one means. But it's important to realize a couple of things. One, there are no set dates for when we move into each phase. There are guidelines of when we might move into each phase, but it really depends on what is happening with the number of people who are getting infected by the virus. If that starts to shoot up, then they will scale back. It depends on the situation in the hospitals. It depends on if people are respecting the different conditions that are required in each phase. So the government has been a little bit careful, wisely, I think, and not being like, this will happen on this date, as I believe has happened in other countries. So I think that's a wise move. And the other thing to realize is these phases are per province of Spain. So there are a lot of provinces in Spain. How many provinces are there in Spain? 52, exactly.
Ole.
I knew how many comunidades there are, but I've forgotten the provinces.
Good.
So not infallible. 52 provinces in Spain, and the different provinces can move through these phases at different times. So Madrid might be in phase 1 when, I don't know, Seville moves on to phase 2 and Madrid remains in phase 1. And so for this reason, we're not allowed to move between different provinces, between those 52 provinces in the country, because suddenly if everyone in Madrid in their phase 1 went to Murcia, which was in phase 3, then that would be bad. Okay, so that's a simple example. So no set dates, and it depends, and they all move unequally depending on which province you're in. The other thing I wanted to say is there's no word on the international borders opening, right? Because that means that there's no word on when people, say, from the United States can fly into Spain. They haven't said anything. And part of that is because they probably just don't know yet, but also it's connected with European agreements. So Spain can't just decide on its own. So that is a broader European decision. But obviously, sooner rather than later, if we can move through this at a safe and decent pace. So phase 0, the first phase is actually called phase 0, just to confuse you. That is due to start on the 4th of May. So the 4th of May, when is that, Yoly? The 4th of May is
that's like Monday, yeah.
Monday. And what that, although I'm a little bit confused because I've said from Saturday we can go for walks, but anyway, we're going big picture here. 4th of May, phase 0 starts. Then from that moment on, you can go for walks as a couple, or it said, family walks. I believe it's just 2 people, Yoly, I'm not quite sure.
But families are allowed, one parent with 1,
there
2,
are
or 3
restrictions.
children. Yeah.
Yeah, there are restrictions, but from Monday, maybe from Saturday, Yoly and I can go for a walk. That's great. Also, from that date, I can go for a jog. So individual exercise is allowed from the 4th of May. From the 4th of May, small businesses can open. So that would be, for example, a tapas bar. You could go and get food to take away, but you're not allowed to consume it there. I believe also at that point, small businesses can open if you have like an appointment to go there. So imagine maybe you needed some hardware. If you could call the hardware store and say, I'm going to come at this time to pick up this hammer, then that sounds like that may be possible. It's still a little bit unclear, but if you have specific appointments, you can go, but you can't have more than 1 person in those places at a time. One thing that's also important to realize, on the 4th of May, 4 of Spain's islands will move directly to phase 1. The next phase, because they haven't been hit so bad. So that's Formentera, La Gomera, El Hierro, and La Graciosa. So those 4 islands, because the level of people infected is lower, will move through to phase 1. And really, I guess why they want to move these through earlier is the sooner that businesses can start making money and hopefully survive. Okay, so phase 1 has been estimated that if all goes well, it would start on the 10th of May. Again, they're not giving dates, but they are giving estimations of how long each phase might take, assuming things go well. Could be a lot longer. I don't know if it's going to be shorter though. So phase one could start, if all goes well, on the 10th of May. That means people can get together in homes. And so like families getting together, obviously not massive amounts of families. I'm sure they'll provide more specifics there. From that date also, small businesses can open with 30% capacity. So 30% of their normal maximum capacity of people can go into that. Always respecting the safe distance, la distancia de seguridad, the security distance between people. From phase one, this is important for tapas bars, terraces can open, the outdoor seating in tapas bars, with 30% capacity. So they've got to keep the tables separate, safe distances, and 30%. People can't go inside yet, although they can go inside if they were picking something up. Because of phase zero, you can get food to take away. So from phase one, hotels can open, but the common areas cannot open. So the restaurants, the bar, and the hotel and things like that. So also cultural events, which I assume means like plays and things like that, can happen with a maximum of 30 people inside and a maximum of 200 people outside. Again, it's important to realize that, and here it also said, but up to a maximum of the 1/3 maximum capacity. So for all these numbers, what is key is you can't shove 30 people into a small room. You've got to be able to keep that security distance. From that point, outdoor markets, I assume would be included in this, is like the rastro, can open up to 25% of the stalls, again, keeping a distance, and museums with around 30%. Again, this is like the 30% phase, whereas you can open a museum, the Prado could open, but only 30% of its maximum people, and again, obeying all the distances and things like that. Then we move on to phase two. If things go well, they think that the time between phase one and phase two may be about 2 weeks. So we could say that if all went well, phase two might be around the 25th of May. Again, we're not giving dates. So phase two means restaurants can open, but again, with a limited capacity. So the interior of tapas bars can open. You have to sit. You can't stand at the bar. 30% again. You can go to your second home if it's in the same province. Theaters and movie theaters, 30%. I guess I was wrong about the plays, but the movies from 30% there. And cultural events with 50 people seated inside and 400 outside. Again, keeping all that security distance. Hotels, the common zones will open in phase two, but again, 30%, right? Malls open in phase two, centros comerciales, 40%. There's a lot more detail in the law. I'm giving you broad strokes. Weddings can happen from phase two. Limited number of people. Makes it cheaper. Quite good, actually. Mm-hmm. Get married in phase two. Mm-hmm. Can't invite that third aunt that your mother wants you to invite. Then we have phase three. Presumably, all going well, 2 weeks after phase two. At that point, bars and restaurants, 50%. 50%. Here's a key one. Somebody asked me, Charlie Baker, shout out to you, said, when can I go and stand at the bar and have a caña? Well, Charlie, you're in the States, so we don't know about that. But when could I go and stand at the bar and have a caña? In phase three, you can stand at the bar and have a caña. It doesn't mention a caña in the law, as long as you're 1.5 meters from other people. Again, the security distance. And so at that point, bars and restaurants seated 50%. Standing at the bar is okay if you're keeping separate. So I'll be at Tony, standing at the bar. I think there'll only just be me at the bar at that point. It's a pretty small bar. Terraces, 50%. Now, one thing to be clear is when I'm talking about bars and restaurants, I haven't been talking about discos. Do we call them discos? Clubs? Or bares de noche, which is like bares de copas, which is like late night, drinking bars. Those haven't been previously opened. In phase three, they're at 30%. Hotels in phase three up to 50% in the common zones. At this point, also businesses, the small businesses, the hardware store at 50%. Again, always respecting the security distance. Outdoor events up to 800 people. Also, phase three, beaches are going to look to open, obviously with security. And here's an interesting one. Bullfights open in phase three.
Thank God.
It's one person for every 9 meters. I don't know what that says about bullfighting people, but that's extra security. And so that takes us through until about late June, as I was checking there. I haven't actually done the math, but if you add all those 2 weeks, but again, we don't know about specific dates. So again, no talk of borders. Late June, then we go into what would be called la nueva normalidad. So the new normal, which is obviously with these things in places, there is nowhere that says, for example, tapas bars are at 100% or this is at 100%. They're not going that far yet, right? It's still maximum. We're hitting 50% in some of these places. And then we go into the new normal, and I'm sure there will be more information. They will keep figuring it out on from there. Masks recommended, the whole kit and caboodle. But I hope that's given you a little bit of insight into what the plan is for Spain over the next kind of couple of months. Hopefully we can keep those the infection rate dropping. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to go for a walk on Saturday. And I was like, where are we going to go for a walk? It's like,
excited.
I'm really excited, but I was kind of getting used to this. Now I'm thrown off kilter again. But,
I hope my legs work.
I hope my legs work. Thank you guys. Love you all. Hasta luego. Ciao.